Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So yesterday we went through we discussed the basics of istithna. Yes? And the primary meaning of istithna, not primary meaning, of the few fundamentals, a few primaries we need to understand. One was istithna muttasil and one was istithna munqati. And we had here muttasil and we had munqati. Yes? We had illa himaran. I explained to you, it's not illa himaran as in like absolutely ridiculous. It's a reason for illa himaran. Okay? Now he's saying the i'rabul mustathna. He doesn't have this heading, but this heading is there to help you understand. Now we're moving on to when you have a word which is mustathna. What is this i'rab going to be? Is it going to be marfu? Is it going to be mansoob? Is it going to be majroor? What is it going to be? Yes? You following?
Yes.
Okay. Now he says here wa'alam anna i'rab al-mustathna ala arba'ati aqsam. The i'rab of the mustathna is in four types. How many types? 4. Now, let me just explain to you my own way first. I don't like his way is a bit confusing in my opinion. Let me explain to you in my own way, which you might even find more confusing. It's your choice, but let me just explain it. Now, before we go into explain the i'rab, there are a few primary words you need to understand. If you don't understand these words, you're going to get confused. So we've already done muttasil, we've already done munqati. What you need to understand now is that there is two types of sentences. One is called mujab and one is called ghayr mujab. Mujab and ghayr mujab. What does wajib mean? Compulsory, necessary. So a mujab is that sentence. A mujab is that sentence which makes the information occur, makes it wajib, makes it happen. Meaning, there's no nafi, no nahi, or no istifham. So, ja'a Zaydun, what's it telling us? Zayd came. It's informing us of the coming of Zayd. That's mujab, positive. Basically, call it positive. Positive or what? What were we saying in Nahw in the morning class? Don't say after, right? No, saying it now, there's no point. It's on the board now. Affirmative. So you have positive and you have affirmative. And the ghayr mujab is going to be what? Negative. That's called ghayr mujab, opposite, non-positive. And what's a mujab? It either has a nafi, a nahi, or istifham. For example, ma ja'a Zaydun. So it's telling us Zayd did not come. La, this is what? A nafyun. La tadrib Zaydan, this is a nahyun. And istifham, hal ja'a Zaydun. So yes, this is not totally negative, but it has negative aspects, and that's another issue later on in Balagha we'll discuss inshallah. But for now, what are we saying here? We have ghayr mujab, which is nahi or istifham. So these two primaries you must keep in your mind. So primaries number 1 were muttasil and munqati. Muttasil and munqati. Muttasil means what? That the mustathna is in part of the mustathna minhu. Munqati means the mustathna is not part of the mustathna minhu. Then the sentence, the whole sentence with the istisna in it, the whole sentence can either be mujab, affirmative, or ghayr mujab, meaning negative. So far so good? Good. Now, 2 more words. So 6 you need to know altogether. Number 1 is tam. What's it called? Another name for that is ghayru mufarraghin. Okay? It's called tam for now. What does that mean? That the sentence, the mustathna minhu is already mentioned. What does tam mean? The mustathna minhu. What's mustathna minhu? The one from which you're exempting. So for example here, we have ja'a. Yes? Ja'a is the verb. What are we exempting? What's the mustathna in here? Zayd is the mustathna. Okay? Got it? And illa is a harf al-istisna. Now this is called tam because the thing you're exempting Zayd from is what? Mentioned. What's this called? Tam. Because you can see the thing that you're exempting it from. Yes? So we can classify it, we can say here that in which the mustathna minhu is mentioned. Yes? Mufarragh, which is then obviously, you say here, mustathna minhu is not mentioned. Correct? Mustathna minhu is not mentioned. For example, ma ja'ani. So ja'a is Zayd is the mustathna. Who we exempting Zayd from? Is it mentioned here? No. So there is no mustathna minhu. So it's called istithna mufarragh. And the other one is called mustathna tam. Not mustathna, but the jumla is, istithna tam or ghayr mufarragh. So tam and mufarragh. Correct? Another example, وَمَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا زَيْدًا. So here the fa'il, maf'ul bihi, and here's even majroor. But you're not mentioning what is it exempted from. Do you understand? So you got it? So recap, muttasil is the mustathna, is part of the mustathna minhu. Correct? Munqati, the mustathna is not part of the mustathna minhu. Kalam mujab, or a sentence with mujab, is an affirmative sentence. There's no nafi or no nahi or no istifham. Kalam ghayr mujab, or a ghayr mujab sentence, there's either a nahi, a nafi or an istifham. Yes? Following? Everybody understand? And tam is where the mustathna means actually mentioned, and mufarragh where is not mentioned. So far so good? You need to know this properly before we move on. Everybody following? You understood? Yes? Everybody upstairs understand? Okay? Now, moving on. Okay? Before we move on, again, some more information. There are 3 ways to make istithna. You either use a harf, you use a fa'il, or you use an ism. How do you make istithna? What are the particles of istithna? Ism, fa'il, or harf. What's the harf? Illa. And this is the aslul bab. Meaning the primary tool or word used for istithna and exemption is what? Harf. And this is illa. But you can also use a fa'il. What's the fa'il? You have here khala, ada, or ma khala ma ada, laysa or la yakun. I'll give all these examples later on. Or you can use a noun, and there's only one noun you can use, which is ghayr. So you either use a harf, use a fa'il, or use an ism. Okay? Yes? Now, then?
Wasn't khala and ada in the...
We'll explain that. Very good question. You're thinking. The question is khala and ada we done in. Awamla break with that. It's a harf. We'll discuss that later on. Okay? Right. Now, we are going to discuss the i'rab. I'm going to explain the i'rab of this in the next slide. I'm not going to explain these two. If you have a fa'il fa'il, what comes after fa'il fa'il? So after these, what's the verb? What's the mustathna going to be? Huh? Why? Because it's going to be? Don't explain this. If you got a fa'il of istithna, so khala is fa'il fa'il, fa'il fa'il, fa'il fa'il, fa'il fa'il, fa'il fa'il, fa'il fa'il, and the word after is going to be what? Maf'ulun bihi. For example, I got it later on, but I'll bring it here now whilst we're discussing this. For example, I will say, is hadith, not hadith, is hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he quoted, and he says, أَصْدَقُ كَلِمَةٍ قَالَهَا شَاعِرٌ. The most truthful word any poet has ever said is this, كُلُّ شَيْءٍ مَا خَلَى. What's it going to be? Allah, batilu. Everything, ma khala, except Allah is batil meaning is going to come to an end one day. So ma khala is a verb of istisna, so Allah has to be, the word Allah has to be what? Mansoob. So because these are verbs, every time you see one of these, automatically the word after is going to be maf'ulun bihi and mansoob. Or in Kana's case, it will be khabar of Kana and laysa. You got it? So this i'rab is done. What i'rab is left? Ism. Ghayr is a noun. So how does a noun join with another noun? Well, okay, that's mubtada khabar, but in our structure, as one phrase, if ghayru, this becomes then mudaf ilay. So after ghayru, you're always going to have what? So if you have the harf of ghayr, then it's always going to be what after it? Mudaf ilay. I forgot to add one thing here. You have a harfun jar as well, hasha. The harfun jar of hasha is also for istisna, it's harfun jar. So the word after is going to be what? Majroor, as a muta'alliq of the majroor of hasha. Yes? So these two harf have always after it what? Majroor. Verbs have after it, the mustasna is going to be mansoob. And even in here, majority of the time is, well, in here, let me summarize a rule of thumb, it's a bit more detailed. Rule of thumb, if illa is for istisna, like if you get stuck, or you can't memorize the next table, then istisna, after is going to be mansoob. Whereas for emphasis, it's going to be what? You ignore illa. So it according to Amir. So for example, if I'm saying here, Ja'a nasu, except. So what's it going to be? Illa, what? Zay? Exemption. If I say emphasis, I want to create emphasis. Ma ja'a illa Zayd. Only Zayd came. What do? You say ignore illa, ignore ma, and say only Zayd came. Zayd is a fa'il, marfu'. Ma ra'aytu illa Zaydan, manful bihi. I only saw Zayd. So you remove the ma and illa, whatever translation you get, you make that the ma'mul. So this is a simple way of doing it. So this is set in stone. Mansoob, majroor after it. Here, majority of the time we're going to mansoob, but there's a few more details we're going to discuss on the next slide, inshallah. Everybody following me so far? Yes? Right. I should have put this in break it into bits, but don't worry. Just keep with me. I don't worry about the whole screen right now, for now. I forgot to break it down into smaller bits. So first of all, illa will either be in kalam. Okay, let's do the last part first. Last one. Let's deal with this one first. What does mufarragh mean? The mustasna minhu is not mentioned. So basically, a rule of thumb is what? Istisna mufarragh means what? After a nafyun, after a negative, because obviously it's mujab, after a negative, for emphasis. For example, ma ja'ani illa Zaydun. What do you really mean to say? Ja'ani Zaydun only. Ma ra'aytu illa Zaydan. I saw Zayd only. Marartu bi Zaydin only. So a negative, if you have a negative, and illa, after illa is basically illa is not hard. That's why in i'rab you say what? Illa is not adatu istithna. What is it? What do you call it? Adatu hasrin. What do you call it? Adatu hasrin. You following me? So here you, according to the amil, you basically tarkib of it, you remove the negative, you remove the illa, wherever it becomes an i'rab, you give it the i'rab. Unless this is in the Quran, majority of the istisna in the Quran is mufarragh. Everybody with me? So far so good? Yes? Okay. Now, next one. If we have an affirmative sentence, you have a what? A mujab, meaning what? Affirmative, not negative. There's no negative in the sentence. Then as I said to you before, if it's really proper istisna, what is it? Proper istisna. then what do? You do what? Nasab. For example, فَشَرِبُوا مِنْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُم. So it's talking about in Surah Baqarah. So they drank from the water. Yes? Who didn't drink? A few. So it's a proper istisna. Now in the book he said istisna muttasil, istisna munqati. It doesn't make a difference. Once it's istisna in mujab, it's nasab. So this is an example of istisna muttasil. Because why? Qalilan were a part of the whom. Aren't qalil a part of the whom? So istisna muttasil. فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا Iblis. Iblis is he part of the malaika? Sajadu? No. So it's munqati. But it makes no difference. There's not even a different need to make this categorization of muttasil and munqati here. Because why? Muttasil and munqati both are going to be what? Mansub. Correct? Provided it's an affirmative sentence actually for exemption, exclusion. So this is always, that's why I say this is always mansub, and that's always going to be according to the amil. And there's one scenario which is very rare, not rare, but one scenario you can put mansub as well. So the rule of thumb is, if it's for istisna, it's mansub. If it's not for istisna, for emphasis, it's according to the amil. But you know, and there's only one masala here you need to pay attention towards. If it's for istisna, but not an affirmative sentence, what kind of sentence is it? A negative sentence. So the easy option is you pray mansub. What do? You pray as mansub. Okay? For example, وَلَا يَلْتَفِئْ مِنْكُمْ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا امْرَأَتَكَ. يَلْتَفِئْ is what? Nahyun. La yaltafit is nahyun. Correct? Now, imra'atak is غير مفرغ, because why? The ahadun is mentioned, isn't it? The mustasna minhu is mentioned. So now you can put it as mansub. Look, imra'atak. Correct?
Yeah.
Here, let's go over here now. ما فعلوه إلا قليل منهم is غير موجب, negative. And the غير مفرغ means what? Mustathna minhu is mentioned. فعلوه is the wow is the zamir, isn't it? You can also do what? Say qalilun. You can do badal. You can make this you say ma fa'aluhu, and here qalilun is not the mustathna. Qalilun is the badal of this. Fa'alu, what's a zamir going to be marfu'? So qalilun is also going to be marfu'.
Yes.
Correct? Do you understand? And then one scenario where you have to do nasab is if the mustasna minhu is muqaddam, which is rare. Yes? Example is وَمَا لِي where the mustasna is muqaddam over the mustasna minhu. It's supposed to be وَمَا لِي مَذْهَبٌ. وَمَا لِي مَذْهَبٌ. I have no way. But what do you say? وَمَا لِي إِلَّا مَذْهَبَ الْحَقِّ مَذْهَبُ. So the istisna comes before the mustasna minhu. So here you have to do nasab. Do you understand? So in theory, if it's proper istisna, you always do nasab. If it's istisna for emphasis, meaning mufarragh, you do it according to the awamil. And in here you got option doing badal. Done. And if you're ever unsure, there's two rules. Is it for emphasis or is it for ta'keed? Ta'keed according to the amil. If it's emphasis, 99% of the time it's going to be mansub. Because the badal only occurs, is yajuz, even both are permissible. You can do nasab and badal, both are permissible. Okay? Yes? You following me? Yes? Any questions? Okay, we stop here today, inshallah. We'll go through the Arab tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, because the Arab is... We understand the summary? This is very important to get into your mind. Okay? So summary again is, all of the, after ghayr and after hasha is going to be majroor, either because of mudhaf ilayh as a majroor. After all of the verbs, khala, ada, ma khala, ma ada, laysa, la yakun is going to be mansub. And after illa, if it's a proper istisna, then it's going to be mansub, except one scenario you can do badal. And if for emphasis, according to the amil. Correct? Subhanallah bihamdi subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu